Earthquakes are one of the few natural disasters that strike without warning. If you're watching this video, you might have just felt a tremor, or you're doing the smart thing and preparing ahead of time. Either way, you're at the right place. This is a no-fluff, data-packed video designed to give you exactly what you need to know to protect yourself and your family before, during, and after a major earthquake. I've compiled this from scientific sources, emergency response organizations, and real-world experience. And I've condensed it down into clear, actionable advice. Because there's so much to cover, I've also included a few free downloadable PDFs in the video description so you could focus on the video now and go through the checklists afterward. Let's get started. Let's talk about why earthquake preparedness is so important and why it matters no matter where you live. Roughly 90% of the world's earthquakes happen around the Pacific Ocean's Ring of Fire, which is a massive horseshoe-shaped zone of tectonic activity stretching from Japan to Chile, through places like Alaska, California, and the Pacific Northwest. If you live in or near this zone like I do, or even in places like the Midwest or the East Coast where quakes can happen and still do occur, this video applies to you. Personally, the last big quake I experienced was the 2001 Nisqually earthquake here in Washington State. It was a magnitude 6.8 and hit while I was in college, before I was a prepper. That event showed me how quickly things could go sideways and how unprepared most people really are. I was living in my grandma's basement and taking a shower when that earthquake happened, and I ran outside naked. While the tremors from that quake are long gone, that vision of me outside naked is still ingrained into my neighbor's memory banks. So instead of asking what if it happens, the better question is, will you be ready when it does? Before the shaking starts, you're going to want to prepare in advance. So let's break down what to do before a major earthquake. We're going to break this down into 4 core areas: knowledge, your home, supplies, and strategic gear. As always, knowledge is power. So know how to turn off your gas, electricity, and water. Post instructions near the shutoff points if need be. You're going to want to designate a rendezvous point for your family in case you're separated, and also choose an out-of-state contact to text your status after a quake. For example, I have family that lives in Alaska, and they would be great candidates to text after an earthquake. Also, you're going to want to understand your local hazards, from liquefaction zones to tsunami risks. You could find this information for your particular region online. One of the most important things to do is secure your home. Any item or piece of furniture at chest height and above should be evaluated for risk. You're going to want to anchor bookshelves, TVs, cabinets, and water heaters to studs. Use earthquake latches on upper kitchen cabinets to keep glassware from flying out. Consider flying projectiles like knives or heavy objects. Even your aquariums are going to have to be considered, because not only could they land on you, but you'll also get water all over the place. Fortunately, there's a lot of cool earthquake products available online. I've done reviews of all of these in the past. I recommend going with the amazing picture hooks to secure picture frames to the wall. This is basically a little maze that the picture frame wire has to navigate through, which prevents the picture from jumping off the nail like it normally would. I also recommend the Seismolatch automatic cabinet latches. When an earthquake happens and lateral movement happens, these latches will activate, which will prevent your cabinet doors from opening up and throwing plates at you during an earthquake. Quake Hold also makes some good products. You could go with the Quake Hold Museum Putty for securing valuables. Also, the Quake Hold furniture straps are good options for cabinets, dressers, bookshelves, and more. Whatever weight limit that's listed on the package, it's not intended to be able to withstand that amount of dead weight, but more for if the piece of furniture starts to lean. It'll help prevent it from falling. Next, I recommend creating a bedside earthquake kit. You could do this with items that you probably already have. If you sleep 8 hours a day, you have a 1 in 3 chance of being in bed when an earthquake strikes. So you're going to want to have some sturdy shoes or boots to help protect against broken glass. Now for footwear, you're going to want to prioritize speed. Slip-on shoes or laceless boots let you move immediately. For regular, everyday use, I use Solomon shoes and boots because I could slip into them fast. They don't have any laces and just have a little drawstring. If you don't have slip-ons, use whatever you have. Something is better than nothing, even if that means just having some Crocs next to your bed. Inside of those boots, include some thick work gloves, again for protection against debris and glass. I also recommend including a headlamp with lithium batteries for hands-free illumination. For emergency signaling, include a whistle. It's also good to include a dust mask or an N95 mask or a bandana or all of the above. You don't want to be breathing in drywall or anything like that. It's also good to include some basic first aid supplies because if glass is breaking, people are probably going to get cut. You could also include a small bottle of water or even eye wash to help rinse your eyes from debris. They even make eye wash glass cups to help with this process. You'll probably also want to include a few personal items like extra glasses and any prescription medication. A small gas shutoff wrench could be added to this kit so you don't have to search for your main one in the garage or something like that. Again, you could also use something like a crescent wrench, but these tools are specifically built to shut off the gas. Whatever you decide for the gas shutoff tool, you're going to want to minimize spark risk. If you could use a non-sparking gas shutoff wrench made from aluminum or brass, that would be preferred. Steel on steel can create friction sparks, and that is the last thing you want near a leak. So make sure that you have the right tool for the job. You probably only want to shut off gas if you smell gas, hear hissing, or your utility advises it. I've created a dedicated video on this, but I recommend everyone in the family having some shoes next to the bed with a lot of these items included. You might not be able to get to your bug out bag after an earthquake, but hopefully you could get to the shoes right next to your bed. If you can, secure the bedside container so it does not slide away during the shaking. You might want to wedge it between the bed and a sturdy piece of furniture or tie it to the frame. If you have room in the box, keep the small items in the container and leave the shoes empty so you could slip into them immediately. When seconds matter, you're not going to want to be removing this gear from the shoes themselves. Reflective or glow tape on the bin will help you find it fast. It's also worth considering adding a helmet to your collection. I've done a lot of testing of this over the years on my channel. Any kind of head protection could help, whether it be a bike helmet, a skateboard helmet, a hard hat, or even a bump cap insert. Falling ceiling tiles, shelves, or debris could cause serious injury, especially in older homes. For clothing, you're going to want to plan for what you actually sleep in. I usually sleep in some sort of clothes, but some people don't like that. If you sleep with minimal clothes, keep a quick throw-on layer at the bedside, like a bathrobe, sweats, or a hoodie. You could even add a beanie or gloves if your area gets cold. It's also a good idea to include a high-visibility vest so you're easy to spot in low light and dust. A compact poncho is also useful for rain or falling debris. You're also going to want to have power outage gear. I've covered this in my full power outage preparedness video, which I'll provide a link to. After a major earthquake, the power may be out for several days. Next, let's talk about during the earthquake and what to do in the moment. When the ground starts shaking, it's not time to second guess your plan. In those critical seconds, your immediate response could mean the difference between life and death. So let's start with the core guidance. When an earthquake happens, drop, cover, and hold on. This is the most widely recommended method by emergency organizations like FEMA, the American Red Cross, and the United States Geological Survey, or USGS. So drop to your hands and knees to prevent falling, cover your head and neck under a sturdy piece of furniture like a table or desk, and hold on to the object until the shaking stops. If no furniture is available, crouch inside an inside corner of the room and protect your head and neck with your arms. The doorway method is more for old school, unreinforced brick or adobe homes that had wood door frames. We've gotten a little better with our home and building construction. A lot of people talk about the triangle of life method. This method suggests lying by a solid object, not under it, to create a survivable void in case the ceiling collapses. While it has some passionate supporters, most experts and emergency agencies warn against it in modern buildings in the United States and Canada, as total building collapses are rare. Instead, they continue to recommend drop, cover, and hold on as the safest and most effective response. I'm sure the comment section will have some feedback on this topic. During an earthquake, you don't want to be running around the room hunting for the perfect triangle. Just find a safe spot and stay put. So in summary, in modern homes and offices, stick to drop, cover, and hold on. In poorly constructed buildings or high-risk zones, know your surroundings and use your best judgment. The safest place is where nothing can fall on you. Again, you're going to have to think fast and make the best decision for your specific situation. Just as Ra's al Ghul told Batman, always mind your surroundings. So ideally, during an earthquake, you're going to want to stay away from windows, mirrors, and hanging objects. Avoid exterior walls, fireplaces, and tall bookshelves. And if you're in bed, stay there and protect your head with a pillow, unless there's something dangerous like a heavy frame or mirror above you. If you're outside, move to an open area away from buildings, street lights, utility wires, or anything that could fall. You're going to want to avoid parking structures, bridges, and overpasses. If you're driving, safely pull over to the side of the road and stop. The experts recommend staying in your vehicle until the shaking stops. Now let's talk about early warning. Your pets might know first. Something to keep in mind, animals often sense earthquakes before humans do. Your pets may act strangely, pacing, whining, hiding, or trying to escape, seconds before the shaking starts. That's because animals are thought to pick up the initial P waves or primary waves that travel faster than the damaging S waves that we humans could actually feel. So if your dog bolts under the table or your cat suddenly disappears behind the couch, it might be your early warning system. They're not going to be able to predict an earthquake that might happen next week, but they'll probably be able to sense it a few seconds before you do. Once the shaking begins, your goal is to survive it and not add to a list of people injured by falling furniture, shattered glass, or poor decisions in the moment. So stay put, stay calm, and stay aware. Now let's talk about what to do immediately after the earthquake. When the ground finally stops shaking, the danger isn't over. In fact, your decisions in the next few minutes are just as critical. You're going to want to be ready for aftershocks. These could come minutes, hours, or even days later and could be just as damaging as the initial quake. So here's what to do after the shaking stops. Check yourself first. Are you injured? If so, apply first aid immediately. If it's dark outside, use your flashlight, not a lighter, to check your surroundings. There may be gas leaks. Put on your shoes, gloves, helmet if you have one, and a dust mask before walking around. Next, check your space. Look for fires or sparks. Fires very commonly happen after earthquakes. You're going to want to smell for gas leaks. If you smell a gas leak, shut off the gas valve. Basically, shut off any utilities if you suspect damage. Avoid touching electrical wiring or downed lines. Don't even mess with it. You're going to want to be careful opening doors. They may be jammed. If they are jammed, use that crowbar or pry tool if needed to force doors open. Your house may have shifted during the earthquake and the doors may not open as normal. When it comes down to cleanup, have safety in mind. You're going to want to sweep up broken glass using a broom, not your hands. Wear thick gloves with eye protection. There's going to be broken glass, dust, and things that you don't want on your hands or in your eyes. Again, expect an aftershock to happen at any time. And expect falling hazards during those times. Some random brick that might not have fallen during the initial earthquake may fall due to the aftershock. And use eye wash if debris gets into your eyes. You're going to want to communicate as soon as you can. The recommendation is to text and not call because the phone lines will get jammed almost immediately. So make sure that you text your out-of-state emergency contact. Listen to your battery-powered or NOAA radio for emergency instructions. And if you choose to do so, be a good Samaritan. Check on your neighbors, especially the elderly, injured, or those with disabilities. And share resources if you can. If you're trapped under rubble, you're not going to want to shout. Try to conserve your air. You're going to want to tap on pipes or metal to signal rescuers. Use that whistle from your bedside kit if it's reachable. And try to keep your mouth covered to prevent dust inhalation. Now let's talk about building your earthquake preparedness kit. You don't need to go out and buy everything at once, but here are some of the essentials to build over time. You're going to want the standard emergency essentials. Number 1 being water. Have at least 1 gallon per person per day for up to 7 days, minimum. You're going to want some non-perishable, long shelf life food like MREs, canned foods, or freeze-dried meals. Make sure that you have a manual can opener. Put together multiple first aid kits. I have a dedicated video on how you could do this in bulk. You're going to want those flashlights and headlamps, such as the one in the power outage kit that I featured previously. And you're going to want a lot of extra batteries. Get the rechargeable or lithium batteries if you could afford it, but any batteries from Costco will do. It's also good to have a power bank or solar charger to help keep your cell phone charged. And then you're going to want to have multiple fire extinguishers in multiple sections of your house. If you can, keep the small fire extinguisher mounted in a wall bracket near the bed so it does not become a projectile. Again, fires are very common after earthquakes, so accessibility matters. You may want to get spousal approval before bolting a fire extinguisher next to the nightstand, because it's not the most romantic thing in the world. But just tell your spouse that the Urban Prepper says that it could be life-saving. You're going to want to have a broom and dustpan for shattered glass. And you might as well include some heavy-duty contractor bags to dispose of the debris. Depending on your country or region, you're probably going to want to have some sort of personal protection, whatever that means for you. That could be something that goes bang, or if you're a tactical ninja, maybe it's a samurai sword. But whatever it is, bad guys tend to come out during emergency situations to take advantage of people. And you're going to want to protect you and your loved ones. You're also going to want to have some sort of barbecue or outdoor cooking setup if the gas lines and electricity are shut off. You'll still need to eat after an earthquake, and you'll need to do it safely outdoors. You're going to want to have a backup supply of your prescription medication. I recommend going with the Jace Daily program from Jace Medical, where you could get a year's supply of your prescription medications. For sanitation, have some sort of emergency toilet, such as a 5-gallon bucket with liners and a toilet seat. I'll provide a link to my dedicated video on this. You're going to want to have toilet paper and hygiene wipes. I recommend trying to have 100 rolls of toilet paper stored for emergency purposes. That's 3 of the large Costco packs of toilet paper. And then also include 1 Costco box of baby wipes, even if you don't have a baby. This will be used for hygiene wipes. And then also make sure that you have some nitrile gloves that you could get over at Harbor Freight or Costco. You're going to want various tools and supplies like a multi-tool. Hopefully you already have one as part of your EDC. Multiple rolls of duct tape. You're going to want tarps or plastic sheeting and also zip ties. You could get the majority of these items at Harbor Freight for a fairly inexpensive price. You're going to want to store things like backup IDs, copies of insurance, and other important documents safely. You could store these in a Ziploc bag, or even better, store them in a fire-resistant bag like the ones that you store in a safe. You may need some of this physical documentation after an earthquake. You're also going to want to have a printed contact list. You might not be able to rely on the contacts in your phone, so having hard copies of the numbers is smart to have. For some bonus items, it's good to have cash in small bills. Dave Ramsey recommends having $1,000 cash on hand for emergency purposes. An earthquake would be an emergency situation. It's also good to have some local paper maps of your particular area, and hopefully you already have an extra set of clothes and sturdy shoes. And I recommend having redundancy. Have kits in the bedroom, in the living room, in the garage, and in the car. Think about where you spend most of your time. You're going to have 8 hours sleeping in bed, 8 hours at work, a few hours in your car, and the rest is going to be at home. So it's best to cover your bases. You don't want to have your entire water supply in one room only, and if that room gets compromised, you're out of water. So it's best to have redundancy across all the places that you might be at. The same preps that you're storing for the apocalypse or for zombies could also apply to earthquakes. In closing, earthquakes could strike without warning, but with the right knowledge, the right gear, and the right mindset, you could dramatically increase your chances of staying safe and helping others do the same. This video wasn't intended to scare you, it was designed to help prepare you. Whether you're in California, Tokyo, Istanbul, or anywhere else along the Ring of Fire, or even in places that aren't traditionally earthquake prone, the reality is no one is immune. Fault lines are constantly shifting, and the clock is always ticking. But here's the good news. Preparedness is empowering. Anytime that I make an emergency kit and have a plan in place, it gives me peace of mind. You don't need to go from zero to bunker overnight. You just need to start. Again, I've included some downloadable free PDFs in the description box, including the Earthquake Preparedness Checklist, how to make a bedside earthquake kit, and I'll also include the Power Outage Preparedness Reference Guide. These are print ready and they'll help you take real, concrete action today. After you print those out, look around your home. Secure the big things, prep the little things, talk to your family, and create a plan. And if you can, don't keep this information just for yourself. If you found this video valuable, share it with a friend. Let's all try to help normalize preparedness in the world. If you've experienced an earthquake or have tips, questions, or ideas others might find benefit from, please leave them in the comments section below. Let's help build a community of people helping each other stay safe and ready for the big one. Thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more urban emergency preparedness videos, and I'll see you next time. Take care.